In 1998, the careers of two unique filmmakers with something special in common converged. Kevin Williamson, then best known for penning the script to Scream, was hired to write a sci-fi thriller set at a high school, and Robert Rodriguez, then known for El Mariachi and From Dusk Till Dawn, was brought on to direct. The film that resulted was The Faculty, a film so profoundly of the late 90s, it will one day be studied in textbooks alongside Y2K and mix CDs. And while the film may not be the best known from either Williamson or Rodriguez's career, it's worth taking a closer look at for what it represents as an act of pure, creative, sci-fi horror love. Because while Williamson and Rodriguez may have ended up in very different places career-wise, they each got started in a way that will definitely appeal to the creators among you. They each used their individual fandom to launch themselves to a place where they were working on films that gave back to their fellow fans. After all, Scream, which launched Williamson from anonymity, is a horror movie about horror movie tropes. It wears its encyclopedic knowledge of the genre on its sleeve to hilarious and also very scary effect. And Rodriguez's El Mariachi proved that if you knew the tropes of an action movie inside out and had the guts to tackle every aspect of production yourself, you didn't need big money or big stars to make something impactful. And that's what every movie with a low budget has in common: the guts of the filmmaker. That type of gusto is worth praising, and through The Faculty, we got a bonanza of genre love and actually one of my favorite 90s movies. So here's everything you didn't know about The Faculty. Premiering on Christmas Day, 1998, The Faculty is a feast of sci-fi body horror and teen angst. Released by Dimension Films, The Faculty tells the story of an alien body-snatching conspiracy going down at a high school in the middle of nowhere, Ohio.
We think aliens are taking over our school.
While we spend most of the movie in the dark about how the whole thing got started, the first people to start acting a little off, like aliens are inside of my body, off, so very off, are members of the school's faculty. And it's ultimately up to an unlikely alliance of students, a bullied nerd,
Sorry. My fault.
a goth, a new girl,
It's my first day here.
a jock,
I'm quitting football.
okay, maybe ex-jock, a cheerleader,
Hey.
Oh, Stan, watch it. These are Estee Lauder lips. Take 72 minutes to apply.
and a super senior slacker secret polymath genius who's also his high school's version of Walter White.
My own recipe, guaranteed to jack you up.
To solve the mystery and save the world. Through Williamson's writing and Rodriguez's direction, The Faculty absolutely revels in references and homage. From explicit mentions to subtle visual cues, drawing on Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Thing, The Shining, They Live, Men in Black, which had only come out a year earlier, Aliens, and even Williamson's own Scream. Even though it's not the most widely remembered movie, The Faculty was definitely not a flop. The budget was $15 million and it grossed $40 million, making it exactly the kind of cheap-to-produce, nicely profitable horror movie that Hollywood loves. Despite its solid box office success, the film was panned by critics as a ripoff of other, better sci-fi thriller and horror movies.
Give me a break.
But critics often get things wrong, and here we really think they were missing the point. Because there's a big difference between a ripoff and the kind of detailed, very conscious, and loving homage that's on display in this movie. The Faculty was not just some sneaky attempt to ride the coattails of another popular movie. It was creators, who happen to be fans, expressing their love of sci-fi horror. And a close examination of the movie itself bears that out. We'll take a look at some of those references, but please let us know in the comments if we missed any, or you think there are more. There almost certainly are. Aside from perhaps the basic premise of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, no film holds a bigger sway on The Faculty than John Carpenter's The Thing. While a high school may not be quite as claustrophobic as a remote research base, high school is definitely still a place you can feel trapped. The Faculty does a great job, like The Thing, of situating the fear about who's been turned in a single tense location. You know, like third period gym class or the chem lab with those scary Bunsen burners. Just all of homecoming. You know, every moment of high school was kind of a single tense location for some of us. But scenes and images are also pretty explicit references. For example, the drug test scene in The Faculty is a direct call out to the blood test scene in The Thing. But no homage to The Thing would be complete without a head that sprouted legs walking around on its own. Oh, ew, no matter how many times I see that, it is still so fucking gross. Why are her eyes looking up? She's like scuttling around but not looking where she's going. No, dislike. A subtler nod we caught was the scene where Stan is showering in the locker room and he's approached by the older faculty member whose skin is falling off. Typical high school stuff. That looks like a reference to the scene in The Shining in the ominous room 237. How about when the Queen is skittering through the ceiling during the final confrontation? That looks like a reference to this famous moment from Aliens. And if Robert Patrick is walking toward you with unstoppable menace, you know that's a callback to this classic.
Hey man, I think I saw that kid you were...
But the faculty's shoutouts aren't only cinematic, they're also literary. In the library scene where Casey and Stokes hash out what they think is happening to the town, they make explicit reference to Jack Finney and Robert Heinlein.
Jack Finney's The Body Snatchers is a blatant ripoff of The Puppet Masters by Robert Heinlein.
Both are sci-fi fiction icons. Finney wrote the book on which Invasion of the Body Snatchers was directly based, and also the novel Time and Again. Heinlein wrote novels such as Starship Troopers and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Very dramatic, very good title. Also, we'd be remiss not to mention H.P. Lovecraft in reference to the faculty. Although he isn't mentioned by name, the fish-adjacent monsters are right out of Lovecraft's mythos, and the story bears some similarities to his novella, The Shadow over Innsmouth. From a writing perspective, it's also worth comparing the faculty to Williamson's prior genre masterpiece, Scream. Both movies feature witty, sarcastic kids piecing together the mystery through their knowledge of genre tropes. While it may be hard for lightning to strike with the exact same impact twice, Williamson comes pretty close. We love Elijah Wood reasoning that an alien invasion would be better executed quietly rather than the way it was in Independence Day.
If you were gonna take over the world, would you blow up the White House Independence Day style? Or sneak in through the back door?
And then there are the funny little things we just gotta point out, like when Zeke sells presumably fake celebrity pornography.
It's Nev Campbell.
And Jennifer Love Hewitt, right?
Yep. Party of prettiness.
And they're naked.
Full frontal.
Nev Campbell and Jennifer Love Hewitt aren't just getting shout-outs as 90s hotties, they're the stars of Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer respectively, both of which Williamson wrote. Also, is it just me, or is this an exceptionally violent high school? I'm talking about before the alien invasion starts. They're constantly slapping and punching each other. Also, what they do to Elijah Wood on that flagpole.
Oh, not the ball!
I mean, they ruin his nuts. It's crazy. Anyway, Casey, forever doomed to be retroactively viewed through the prism of The Lord of the Rings, serves up a lot of worried Frodo looks in this film. Kind of like this, like, Gandalf. That's more constipated, but you get it. And okay, this one is my favorite. When Casey's dad confiscates his collection of adult magazines from under his bed, the only legible title is Boob. You know, Boob magazine, not boobs, not boobies, just boob. Sorry, but if the worst thing my kid is looking at are racy pictures of solo breasts, I feel like I've done my job well. He can keep it. I'm not even gonna take that.
No more flogging the bishop.
The original draft of The Faculty was written by David Wetcher and Bruce Kimmel. They ultimately received story credits on the film. Wetcher went on to have a career as a TV producer, and Kimmel worked as a character actor in the 80s, and since then has worked as a record producer and novelist. Dimension bought their script in the mini horror boom that followed the success of Scream. They hired Kevin Williamson to rewrite it, so Williamson took the core premise from the original script of body snatching set at a high school, but changed so much about the characters and dialogue that he ended up with the sole written by credit. We don't have time to go into the minutia of Writers Guild credit arbitration, but it's actually pretty interesting, believe it or not, so hit up the old Google if you're curious.
Trust me, man.
Williamson was also originally set to direct the movie, but passed in order to focus on what became his directorial debut, Teaching Mrs. Tingle. Another wonderful film, highly recommend it, highly recommend the soundtrack. So Dimension brought on Robert Rodriguez to direct, being that he had just worked for the company on From Dusk Till Dawn. Rodriguez's ex-wife, Elizabeth Avellán, produced the film. She was Rodriguez's producing partner on almost all of his films, from El Mariachi to Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. Rodriguez edited the film. He has a reputation for wearing many hats on his films, including cinematographer and even composer, but on this film, that work went to others. Enrique Chediak was the cinematographer. His credits include 28 Weeks Later, 127 Hours, and Repo Men. Marco Beltrami did the music. He had previously done the music for Scream, and since The Faculty, he's gone on to score tons of genre movies, including Hellboy, Resident Evil, World War Z, and Snowpiercer. When it comes to the cast, there are lots of heavy hitters in The Faculty. First, let's break down the high schoolers. Elijah Wood played Casey. You might know him from a small role in a fantasy film trilogy no one has really ever heard of. And actually, now that I think about it, worked with Robert Rodriguez again years later in Sin City. Josh Hartnett played Zeke. The Faculty was one of his first roles ever, and he went on to be a big 2000s heartthrob who's also built up a bit of genre cred since then with 30 Days of Night and Penny Dreadful. Clea Duvall played Stokely. She's had a varied career as a character actor, but genre-wise, the standouts are American Horror Story and Handmaid's Tale. Jordana Brewster played Delilah. This was her first feature film, and she's gone on to roles in the Fast and the Furious franchise, as well as TV roles on Dallas, Chuck, and Lethal Weapon. Sean Hattasey played Stan. He went on to be a working character actor, mostly in TV. He's had roles on Bosch, Animal Kingdom, and Fear the Walking Dead. Laura Harris played Mary Beth. She's mostly a TV actor as well and was on 24. And last but not least, Usher Raymond played Gabe. He was and still is, you know, Usher. We all know Usher.
Peace up, A-Town down.
On the Faculty side, Salma Hayek played the school nurse. She had previously worked with Rodriguez on From Dusk Till Dawn and Desperado. Famke Janssen played Ms. Burke, the sultry English teacher. We love her best as Jean Grey in the X-Men movies. For me, I'm always gonna remember her from GoldenEye, Xenia Onatopp. What a way to go, strangled by legs, wonderful. Robert Patrick played Coach Willis. As previously referenced, Patrick is most iconically known as the metallic morphin T-1000 in Terminator 2. Piper Laurie played Mrs. Olsen. Laurie's most memorable roles are as Margaret White in Carrie and as Catherine Martell in the original Twin Peaks. Jon Stewart played Professor Furlong, and I gotta say, given how he's gone on to essentially become America's liberal concerned dad, it's weird seeing him turn into an alien and then get butchered. Just saying, not how I picture Jon Stewart. Also worth noting are Chris McDonald of Happy Gilmore fame, you know, the guy who eats pieces of for breakfast.
I eat pieces of like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast? No.
He plays Casey's dad, and Summer Phoenix, sister of River and Joaquin Phoenix, as one of the students randomly clobbering each other. There were a couple of iconic might-have-beens with the cast, too. According to IMDb, Gillian Anderson was considered for the role of the principal, and Jessica Alba auditioned for the part of Delilah, but didn't get it. The Faculty also had a marketing tie-in with Tommy Hilfiger. Hilfiger clothed the cast, and in exchange, they appeared in a TV commercial and print advertisement campaign. We started this video talking about The Faculty as a point of convergence for two careers that began with some genre-heavy inspiration. But after the movie, Williamson and Rodriguez went in pretty different directions. Rodriguez continued cementing himself as a genre heavyweight with work like Spy Kids, Planet Terror, Sin City, Machete, and most recently, Alita Battle Angel. After The Faculty, Williamson's career turned to TV, where he's created 9 shows, probably most famously Dawson's Creek, and aside from developing The Vampire Diaries, not a ton of genre work. But if you're a person with an urge to do anything creative on any scale, the people who made The Faculty can be your inspiration, because your passions and your fandom can be a bridge to sharing what makes you you with the world. So whether you've got a story to tell about alien invaders or wisecracking kids or something completely different, trust that the things you love can become the engines of your life's work. How do you guys feel about The Faculty? Love it? Hate it? Am I the only one who didn't see the new girl twist as the queen alien coming?
Spoiler.
Okay, it's been over 20 years. You gotta, it's been over 20 years. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you think and if I just spoiled the faculty for you. Also, Josh Hartnett just winds up with his teacher at the end, Famke Janssen. And everyone's okay with it. She just goes to football practice and watches him like a girlfriend. Only no girlfriends are doing that. But his teacher is.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, you should click here for more episodes of Everything You Didn't Know. And also make sure to subscribe to SYFY WIRE's YouTube channel because we drop new episodes every other week.